I do have to scoot, like right when this ends, because I have a therapy appointment that bumps right into this. But I can be like a little late. I already told her.
Yeah, I have a little bit of buffer before the next thing I have. It's at 1:30.
And hopefully everyone can hear me as well. We've confirmed that we can hear other people, but I just wanted to make sure we can hear everybody. And I wanted to go ahead and say hello, everybody, and welcome on in to our first ever Crystal Convos. My name is Vanessa Brasfield. I am a community coordinator here at Crystal Dynamics, and I will be your host and your moderator today for this fantastic panel talking about Black joy during the Crystal Dynamics celebration of Black History Month. We wanted to gather with industry professionals, game devs, accessibility consultants, and many people from the industry all around to really just get their perspective on what brings them joy for Black History Month and some of the things that they love in the gaming space. So, I've already kind of introduced myself. I'm going to go in order with everybody. We're going to start with Jay Justice. Tell us who you are and what you do in the gaming space.
Hi, my name is Jay Justice. I work as a writer and consultant and developer in the gaming space. A lot of what I do is focused on refining characterization, narrative representation, and a lot of what I do also focuses on disability representation, which I love doing as a disabled person. I've had a really great time in the industry, whether it's tabletop games or like video games or even live action, like role playing games, helping companies plan really unique experiences for the player is just something that gives me all the positive energy. And I love getting to create in this space. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Love having you here. The next person I'm going to go to is Zaire. Tell us about yourself and what you do in the gaming space. Also, I'm not going to let either one of y'all get away from saying that you're part of future class. Please continue.
I'm Zaire. I've been working in games for about 2 or 3 years now. I started out uh, doing a lot of game jams. Like I was doing like 1 month for a year, trying to build up my portfolio. Um, and then I ended up doing a comic Kickstarter, and I think the attention from that was part of what kicked off my games career. Because people were like, "Oh, like she knows what she's doing. Like she can, run a Kickstarter, present a story." So then my first job was at Unknown Worlds on Subnautica Below Zero, which was really fun. I really enjoyed working on that. And since then, I've worked at Naughty Dog on NDA. I can't talk about that. And I've also worked at Compulsion, which is also under NDA, so I can't talk about that. But they're both amazing projects that I'm sure people will really enjoy. And as Vanessa said, I was part of last year's future class.
Excellent. Awesome. And then we have, of course, Mr. Morgan Gray, who gets a special introduction because he's a cohort of mine, and I had the pleasure of talking with him to get this whole panel up and running. Morgan, tell us more about yourself and the things that you can talk about working on.
Yeah, hi everyone. I was gonna say it's funny, like, what can I talk about? I can't talk about much. So yeah, I'm Morgan Gray. I've worked in video games for 25 plus years at this point, which when I do that math hurts me. So I always like to put things in like a painful framework. So I'll say I've worked in video games for a quarter of a century.
Oh,
Boom! That just hits all
oh,
this gray hair.
why
There
would
used to be hair
you?
here. No, no. Anyways, I started off in QA, then went to design for years in various design roles, and then project leadership. I've been super lucky to work on a lot of geek dreams. I got to work in the Star Wars franchise and the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game series with like my mentor in games, Lawrence Holland. Got to touch into Star Trek, so it's like I had the co-unity world of both sci-fi franchises. Why pick? I like them both. No pick. At Crystal Dynamics, I was super lucky to be able to be a part of the Tomb Raider franchise when we originally got it in the 2000s, and then working on the reboot series as well. It's been fantastic. Made a lot of games, made a lot of friends. It's the best way to take everything that I like. When all the teachers would say Morgan would be really good if he only applied himself. Well, I figured out how to apply everything, which is everything I love: music, geek culture, video games, interactivity, reading, nerdiness, all into one thing, which is like, let's make interactive experiences with cool people. It's like a collaborative environment. So currently I am working on our partnership on Perfect Dark. Can't talk too much about that for obvious reasons, but it's fun. It's fun working with Microsoft again. We worked with them previously when we were making Rise of the Tomb Raider. So it's nice to be working with friends.
Awesome,
So that's
awesome.
me in a small nutshell.
And then again, I am just the community manager. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I also don't have nearly as fun and colorful as a portfolio as everyone else. I started out as a part time content creator, and I have my hats a little bit of everywhere. I've done work with multiple gaming companies, I've done work in the charity sector, I've done work as a manager in who knows how many jobs. I cannot say that I've claimed anything for a quarter of a century, but I can say I might have claimed some things for maybe a tenth of a century, give or take. I can match you on that energy a little bit. And this is actually my first ever game dev job. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited for the community team picking me up and saying, you know what, we like that one. And so I'm here to kind of help bring together more content on the channels, help with kind of building on a couple other projects, and this is one of our first big ones, and I'm really excited for everybody here. Okay, I'm not just a CM. I said I wasn't going to read chat. I lied. I'm reading chat. Okay, fine. I'm kind of like
I
the
was going
general
to call you
manager.
out on that too.
What do you
No,
mean?
nobody is just a community manager. But community
Oh,
management is a vital, difficult, strenuous, like weight bearing part of the games industry. And I've worked with community managers at BioWare. I've worked with them in other companies, and y'all are doing a lot. So don't even ever diminish that. That's all.
all right. Okay, that's fine. So that being said, I wanted to start off really lighthearted and just ask something very simple. I can kick off this one because I know that I will talk forever if I don't. And I wanted to just start off with what drew you to gaming in the first place? Like for me, it was being a kid that just wanted to draw stuff and wanted to express herself. And so it was me, Sonic the Hedgehog, and a couple of crayons. There was a lot of conflicts there at that point, though, because when you tell your small Leo child that they can't have a flower border, the solution that they come up with, even at 6, is fine. I'll make my own. Disclaimer: don't. That's not actually a good solution. Please do not make your own flower borders with crayons. It's not great to wash off of walls. I learned this the hard way. But then it was just a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog, and then I jumped into JRPGs, and then I started to draw, and it kind of just all snowballed into that. And I'm kind of this now amalgamation of all things gaming and do gaming history stuff, and I just love lore for everything. So please never ask me for Sonic the Hedgehog facts. You will be trapped for the next 2 hours of your life. I know too much. I shouldn't know all of this. But I want to hear about what brought y'all to gaming in the first place. Like, what kicked you off? What got you interested in gaming? And I'm not going to call on anybody, so whoever goes first is who goes first.
Okay, then. So
Jay for the win.
Yep. So I have been a comic book fan for my entire life. My first comic book was Punisher War Journal when I was 3 years old. My mother was like, "What in God's name is this? Where did you find this filth?" And I was like, "It's good."
Not filth. Not filth.
It's for a baby to read Punisher. I don't blame her. But anyway, I love the stories. I love getting sucked into something, and I love the way that it feels so like immersive. And when they made all the X-Men video games, that was when I like the early ones. I was like, okay, this is it. This is it for me. And my very first like foray into working for any kind of games industry job at all was when Activision was looking for a few good folks of any gender to promote Ultimate Alliance 2 at New York Comic Con way back in the day. And I was like, you need a Marvel nerd who knows everything? I got you. And I got paid to literally talk about comic books all day in the context of this video game being super legit, a spiritual successor to X-Men Legends, and giving you everything you need. From like, I mean, I still know my spiel, and that was over 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were like, "Where did you find this girl?" They're like, "Craigslist."
Hold on, Craigslist.
Yo.
Oh, that's
so I was like, so you can actually like get paid to be excited about video games. I could do this. But you know, constructively excited. And I got a lot of other work in comic book industry doing editing and consulting and writing. And there was a lot of overlap between people going, hey, you know, Jay's really into these gaming stuff. We need somebody to handle the Adventure Zone graphic novel. You think we can get her on that? And that also got me further and further into gaming. Like more than just as a hobby, but as something that I wanted to be part of my portfolio and part of the things that I was doing. And the more I got involved with the gaming community, both as a cosplayer, because I forgot to mention, I also do costumes. I have 120 costumes. Yeah, I've been cosplaying for not as long as I've been working in gaming, but pretty long. And that was part of what got me more attention as someone who was like, okay, you're really interested in this, but also you do the work behind the scenes. You're not just, you know, a girl with a glue gun. Yeah, so I ended up getting to work on Mass Effect Legendary Edition as part of the community council. And that was like the dream come true for me. I was like, okay, I definitely want to stay in gaming for as long as I can, because like getting to be a part of a project that means so much to you and getting to be part of an inclusive community that doesn't just see you as like, you know, a box to fill or anything, but like you're here not because of any other reason, but because of your passion for this project and the fact that we know you're going to give it your all. And that's, what more can you ask for than that in a job? And I'm still freelance. I'm still happily taking part in different games here and there. It is very difficult to get a full-time position at one company and have that be your thing. So congratulations, Vanessa. We're all very happy for you. Like, okay, listen, we're not putting you down. We are lifting you up. You've done it. We're very proud of you. But it can be really fun to be a free agent and to look at different projects and say, okay, what do I have for my availability the next 3 months? Can I really give this my everything? Because I don't just take anything. I take things that I know I can devote myself to because I really want to like be my best self for whatever company wants to work with me. So yeah, that's how I got into the gaming industry. And how am I going to get out? In a pine box.
You can't say you're gonna get out in a pine box. Oh my God!
They're not letting me leave. I love it here. I got asked to be in Game Awards Future Class. I'm so excited to meet more people at GEC this year and to build more connections in the community and talk to folks about full-time jobs. I love everything about it. And there's way too much positivity for me to turn my back on it. So I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough. I love that for you. I love the energy that you're bringing to that. Mine was much shorter because I was just like, I liked Sonic and I liked to draw. And so I decided that's where I'm going. I draw video games now. And I don't even draw video games. I'm actually community management, which I love because I love working with people. I love working with content creators. I like building solutions for people. I love seeing things grow, you know? Like, it's just, I've come to the realization that's my calling in life. I want to see stuff grow, and I want to see people be successful, and I want to see, like, creators, like people in chat who are doing cool stuff with the games that I, like, helped work on in some way, and I'm just like, oh, this is the calling in my life that I didn't realize I had, even though I have background in data analytics and whatnot. I'm also a number cruncher, so I just look at all of it all the time, and just, oh my God, I'm so excited. But I digress. Who wants to go next? I told you I'm not going to call on you.
I can go next.
Okay.
So I didn't get into games until probably my teens. We had a PS2 that I really liked, but my little brother and sister destroyed it. and I fixed it. I opened it up, and they had stuff like all kinds of stuff inside of it, and I fixed it. And literally 30 minutes later, I like came back into the living room, and they had broken it again, and I couldn't fix it after that. So like 5 years later, when I was like 16, I was on Craigslist, and some dude was like, "Oh, I have a brand new PS4 that my sister gave me, but I don't want it." And like looking back now, I'm like, he definitely stole that. Like, it was really, really sketchy. But I went and I bought it, and it was like brand new in the box. And I went to GameStop and I bought Dragon Age, The Last of Us, and something else that I can't remember. And I was just like, I really, really enjoyed them. I'd only ever played like Call of Duty with my cousins, which like I like Call of Duty, but it didn't strike me as like a story-driven game. It was more action-driven. But Dragon Age was like, I'd never played anything with branching narrative before, and I thought that was really, really cool. It like blew my mind. Then I went to college, and I actually started out as pre-med, and then I realized I didn't want to do pre-med. I was doing that because like I felt like I needed to do something important. Obviously, doctors are important, but I was like, what do I want to do? And I was having like a quarter-life crisis, and I figured out like, oh, I like to write. Like I've always written stuff. And I went on Twitter, and I had recently played the Walking Dead Telltale series, and I found one of the narrative designers on there, and I just went through their follow list, and everyone they followed who had writer, narrative designer, I followed, and I just started being annoying on Twitter. I started just like talking to people and like inserting myself into conversations and like trying to understand how to get into games. And then yeah, I did. I ended up getting like IGDA, whatever their version of like future classes, like upcoming people. I got that right before COVID hit, which was really depressing because I still haven't gone to GDC to this day. But then I did my comic that I mentioned earlier, and then from there it was a wrap, and I ended up, working at my dream studio like 2 years in, working in a studio now that I'm really enjoying. I wish I could talk about it, but I can't.
I feel like that's going to be a recurring theme for today too. It's going to be like, I would love to talk about this. I cannot.
I would love to, but I cannot. Microsoft
I can't.
will not allow such things.
No Tom Hollands.
No,
I'm not
I'm not gonna.
We're not Tom Holland, so
we're
I
not
won't get away.
It's just like, can you talk about that? I can't. Just smile into the camera as hard as you can. I can't. But okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to add that in there. It's like NDAs are a thing.
No, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, from then on, I've just kind of just been in the game industry, learning from people. And I really like Twitter for that. I feel like I have access to so many people, especially living in the Midwest, that I just would not bump heads with. And I don't know, I feel like I'm just blessed to know so many cool creators. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
And then that leaves us with Morgan, who I know is going to have a lot to talk about in this, because you have a quarter century of work to talk about that led up to all of this. So,
it's really weird. I used to be the young know-it-all, and now I'm just like the old man. It's weird how that happens. Is that version of if you start the hero, but if you stay on long enough, you get to become the villain? I don't know.
Not this.
But it does. We do go back, so we'll take it back. So games for me probably started like legit, no lies, Atari 2600, in the room, purchased from Sears. Neither of those two brands have any relevance anymore, but straight up 1980 something or other, early 80s. I was young, 6 or 7, so 81, 82, boom, video games hit. And like many kids, Star Wars, right? Because that's the era. Saturday morning cartoons, because that's what it was on. Run home from school, after school. Comics, geek culture, all that. Video games hit in a big way. Led to getting a first computer. And that was what set it all off. Commodore 64 got purchased because it was going to help with school. It was going to help with school. Word processor, could learn. Computers are new. My parents made it happen. Dad, a cab driver. Mom, a school teacher. It was a significant investment. Significant. They're getting a home computer for me and my sister. First thing I do is go, oh, you can play games on this piece. Boom. It was done. Games on the computer led to learning to program in BASIC, to playing with the like programming in elementary school. And this was the time where it's like 3 people in the school knew how to turn the damn thing on kind of era. You gotta remember, like early 80s, no internet, and then BBSs, and I was hooked. I was like coding things, making it happen. I mean, and by things I mean like ASCII art. Like, this is not, text adventures. These are not, but the thought that you could make something that then you could share. And then you got to understand too, in the early mid 80s, the pirate scene was on point. I just got to say, I'm not endorsing it, but I'm just saying, people swap stuff. BBS's discs, there'd be what we call disk drive parties. People would show up, daisy chain their disk drives.
Intimate sharing.
Exactly, intimate sharing. People would show up, everyone would bring their disk drives, daisy chain them, mass copy, 10 at a time. Like, it was like people bringing mixtapes, but it was geek stuff. That then met Dungeons and Dragons, and I was done. I was like, well, we can make up stories, we can make up fantasies, and then rules, mechanics, programming, how it overlaid with music. I was just like, I can get all this stuff I love into this one art form. I was hooked. So then we talk about professional, like, all the consoles moving up, but I was like a PC bias even before I knew about PCs. So I could only play Nintendo at my friend's house. I was like, got a Game Boy. Finally got Nintendo when it wasn't on point anymore. Came out, got the PC, Doom, that era. Remember shareware. Got the first gig. You'll laugh. LucasArts answering a job posting in a physical newspaper. So the path to games, one, love and blessings of my parents. I owe my entire career to that decision for buying me a computer at a young age. The whole career, it was basically, I'm an indentured servant. I know one trade, make video games. The only way I know how to pay rent all came from getting that computer, so I owe them to the day I die. Second thing I owe them is they picked San Francisco. Who would have known that San Francisco Bay Area had a scene? It had LucasArts, it had Hasbro, it had Microprose, it had Spectrum Holobytes, it had Capcom, it had Konami. Like, everywhere in the San Francisco Bay Area was a scene. I had no idea. Answered an ad in a newspaper, got to walk into a testing gig at LucasArts, George Lucas's video game company, tester. I've made it. I felt like I stole something walking into those doors. Like, do they know I'm here? Do I belong here? And it was a golden era. Which just happened to be a golden era of just the people working at LucasArts at that time it was so early, it couldn't even be corporate. It was just early days. Everyone was cool. They branched out. You mentioned Telltale. Some of the founders for Telltale were actually one of the guys was my boss in QA. Right? So it sprung from that. So it was like a fertile ground. It was like luck on top of luck on top of luck, and then just trying my hardest not to screw up any shot I got. To be able to do this incredible thing, making games, not to talk too much on it, but I will say, like, the thing that's beautiful about it, and they were talking a little bit about in the community, unlike any other art form, which is like almost pure voyeurism and consumption, games are innately interactive. Whether it's you're playing by yourself, so you make something, someone then plays it, they make it their own. It's different than people like singing your song back to you. It's like it's a shared creativity, and then the community comes in. There's nothing like it. There's no other art form that the creators are also the audience, and the audience become the creators, and then the dialogue that happens is a shared thing. It's like, this stuff is like, what a time to be alive. It's a beautiful time. Not to get all poetic on it, but it's
no. I mean, and that's actually like a perfect segue into the next thing I wanted to ask about too. Is like, what are some of the things that draw you into games? Because like, we talk about all these different things, and I agree completely with the aspect of it's so interactive. It does so much more than what you can get from all those other mediums you're talking about. Like, I'm a kind of quietly retired graphic designer too. And one of the reasons I wound up leaving it is because of the fact that, like, after a bit, I found myself just saying, I just want to draw for myself. And that's it. But I don't get that same issue with video games. I love playing video games on my live stream. I love sharing games with people. I love showing people the way I play a game, or like the way that someone else would play a game. Or I love guide writing too. I like segued into that as a result. And so I think, like, going back to the question that I asked, what draws you in the most, I think is the combination of like learning as much as you can, like for all the details and the lore and information, but then being able to share that with somebody down the road is the big thing for me. Like right now on my channel, I'm playing one of my old all-time favorite games, which is called Eternal Sonata. and it's a JRPG. It's from the Xbox 360 era, and no one heard of it. And I was like, well, that's wrapped up. I'm playing it, and you're going to deal with it now. And everyone's watching, and they're just like, how do we not know about this? And I was like, because that's how many games are out there. That's how many games are out there. Like, legit. But also, I'm going to show this one in particular to you. So, yeah, this is where we're at now. And going through, like, all the stuff that I have to explore and learn and understand and then share it with everyone else. And they're just like, wow, this game really opened up. And it's like, And then everyone shows up for my Bloodborne streams because I play Bloodborne very well. But that's a different conversation entirely. So, what are some things that bring y'all into games? Like, when you pick up a game and you start playing it, what's the thing that you say, yep, I'm here, I'm in, this is what I want to play right now?
I have two things, I think.
Okay.
And I realized I lied. My grandmother bought an Xbox for us, like an old school, like big, like beat someone to death Xbox, like just the original Xbox. And she got Knights of the Old Republic, and I was the only grandchild old enough to like understand how to play it. And the twist at the end blew my mind. And that was actually my first narrative branching game. And I remember the first time I felt guilty making an evil decision, and I can't even remember all the logistics around it, but you can like kill this lady and get her money. And I did, and then you find out she has like a kid or something. I can't even remember, but I remember like I started crying. I felt so bad. I had to like go back all the way to like I had been playing for like 2 hours, and I had to like go back and redo it because I just like felt so bad about it. And so then for the rest of my run through, and pretty much every branching game since, I cannot bring myself to make the bad choice, even though I want to. But that the way everything was set up at the end, the twist didn't feel cheap. It like really like built itself up well. And I think I'm kind of chasing that experience of something that makes me like, I like when the decisions feel meaningful. I was definitely a little sensitive as a kid. Like I don't think I would cry now necessarily as easily over a game decision, but I like something that like gives me pause. And then it's like neither decision is necessarily right or wrong. It just kind of is. And I always like that. And that's what Morgan was saying about the like interactivity. I like when I like, well, what did you do on this part? And then your friend tells you, and you're like, well, I did this and they did that. And my other thing is, I think a little bit of a power fantasy. When I was younger, I used to have this recurring dream where I would be like running and I would just like get faster and faster. And then I would take this like one big hit off the ground. I would just like start flying. And it just like, I felt really, really good in that dream. And I really like when a video game makes you feel that kind of thing. And I've just been really, for me lately, it's been Forspoken. I know it's getting a lot of whatever, but I'm really enjoying just watching this character that looks like me, looks like my sister, looks like my cousins, and she's just running around kicking butt, and she's, doing parkour and hitting flips and, doing all these really cool and interesting varied magic attacks. And I like something that, I'm not staring at the back of someone's head who doesn't look like me. Like I can get into that power fantasy because I have to, because that's just the way games are. But I really like when a game immerses me in a universe and I feel strong. That's why when I finally started playing Destiny, the first time I got, I think it was like the Hammer of Soul, and you just start like whipping all these flaming hammers across the map. And I was like, oh yes, this is it. I'm hooked. And in like 6 months, I put in like 500 hours or something. Like it's a whole mess. I played a lot, and I really enjoy when games can do that. And part of that is also like doing it with my friends. They're teaching me the mechanics. They're we're scheduling raid times, and I think that's really, really fun. And I don't think you can get something like that as easily.
And then someone just made the comment in chat about how it's interesting when our empathy in real life carries over and forces our hand, because I had that same kind of problem with the Mass Effect series in particular, because I did the full Paragon run, and I was like, that felt too squeaky clean. And then I did the full Renegade run, and I was like, oh my god, okay, some of this is out of control. Like, I don't know about this. And then I did a third run, and I was like, I'm just going to do the mixture of things I would actually do. And that was probably the most satisfying run because I felt more like embedded in the game. And I was just like, no, this is me running around. This is me running around doing stuff. I'm Commander Shepard. It's me. And
That's
then
the fun part for sure.
yeah.
Like, especially like, the trip though too. I think I just talked over you, so I'm sorry, Vanessa. But I think I was gonna say, like, with streaming games now, it's so nice to know that you can like see the alt choices without having to do the alt choices. Because like I can't do the bad thing. I really want to sometimes, and I just can't do it because I'm like, I don't want to live with the consequence for that. And so, but now I can, I'll go on YouTube real quick or go somewhere else. What happened if I made that choice? Oh, there you go. Well, that's nice. But the karma's on them, not me. It's like
Yeah.
BioShock for me.
I was just about to say BioShock is a good one too, because you have to choose to save or like harvest them, and I couldn't do it. I was like, no, I can't.
Yeah, maybe it hit me at the right age, but I'm gonna jump our flow, so we change our order, and then jumping on NJ. But like, I think the thing about games is you can inhabit a role, and whether that role is you, not you, something different, or even meta, right? Like you play like a top-down Sim City. Like, are you the mayor? Yes. Is there a story? Kinda, but like it just lets you experience things, stepping in and out of different skins effectively, and that's like. It's like Westworld, but kind of like for real, right? It's a pure fantasy dream generator. And sometimes the dreams are aspirational, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're like pragmatic, but like it's just way more engaged than just like passive reading. And I love books too, right? Like I love books and music. And people go like, when we talk about video games, it's like, do you like video games? I like video games. It's like saying I like music. Somehow with music, people say genre more, right? Like it's like but video games is just it's a big tent, and that's cool. It's like books is a big tent. I like novels. Okay, you've told me something and nothing. Right? Like,
Right, and especially consider. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the video game thing is fun, is because like you don't have to be trapped in a single genre, and the immersive and the experience, what you put into it and what you take out of it, is both uniquely personal and achieved and shareable. Even if you play the exact same heavily scripted, no narrative choice, any choice game, you're gonna have a different impression for how it hits you, and because you're engaged in it, the emotion, like, so the BioShock, the quick story is like the little sister never killed a single one of them, wasn't going to do it, wasn't going to touch them. So BioShock hit me with two surprises, and it wasn't the would you kindly, no spoilers, so that did surprise me. The two surprises were near the end of BioShock 1 when you get to the nursery and all the little girls that you saved are there, and one of them had a say line that was, "That's him, he's here to save us all." And I was like, you're damn right I am, but I never felt more proud of myself than that. And I was like, I made that happen. Look at that.
I did this.
I did this. I'm a hero. It's like I was in. And then the last surprise, which is one that no one never called out, right? So as a mixie, as a broad pigmented man myself, the ending cinematics, when they talk about the little girls living their best lives because you saved them, when they talk about love, they show a wedding scene, and there's a brown hand holding that bride's hand in that thing. I'm like, look at you, Bio. You snuck that into a world that rather lacked a bit of representation. So like, little sneak peek, wasn't broad, but I was like, Bio, you've done so many things. But those little girls got misty-eyed. I was like, I am not horrible. I'm not stealing that atom for short-term gain. I'm taking the long view. So video games, it's a part of you goes to them and gets pulled out. I think that's why I think I love them so.
Now, Jay, you got to follow up on a lot here. You got a lot to follow up on.
Oh yeah, it was fun, interesting, and listening to everyone else. What was the question?
I was like, that's how far along we are. We've gone so far up. That's just like, there's a question here.
What was the original question?
I was asking about what are the certain aspects of games that draw you in. And we kind of like delved into so many different aspects of it too, because. But I'm not. Nope. See, there I go. You got to take your turn, because otherwise I'll take your turn for you.
Okay. So what draws me into video games primarily is definitely a good story. Whether it's a story that I can tell myself through my players' choices, or one that, even if it's a railroaded ending, which is like such a bad term supposedly. If the story is compelling, I don't necessarily mind that I don't get to choose what the character does, as long as the story is compelling and the gameplay is really satisfying. Like when the combat is good and you're just flowing with the game and there's no friction, you're just like, everything is just working. And then the really big piece for me personally, if the game is accessible at the same time, so that way I can see everything, there are captions, the controls are not making my hands want to die, like, that to me is what makes a game playable for me. And one good example of this is Control. Control is a game that the story is so good that I do not even mind that sometimes this girl be making some choices and I'm like, boo, what are you doing?
like
But
you in real life are side-eyeing them. You're playing the game and just going,
yeah, exactly.
okay.
But the way that you can use her abilities, the way that you can customize your experience of the game, and the just fantastic gameplay animation of every single ability that she has. Like, I played this game on like 2 different consoles. I'm gonna get it again. I'm ready for all the extra stuff. I'm ready for whatever they give me in that particular thing. Like, that was, to me, that is a masterpiece because it's just so good, and I can recommend it to so many of my friends who have different abilities because it's so customizable. Like, they did a fantastic job with that one. So something like that would definitely be like, okay, this is the gold standard for me. And the fact that we're getting even more accessibility in like even more positive ways, it just makes me so happy. Like, we're in a great time for gaming where the games are so complex and interesting. And I'm going to borrow a line from my friend Amy Chu, who writes comics. It's a medium, not a genre. People always think that, yes, because with comic books, especially, same thing. People are like, oh yeah, I don't really read the funny pages. And I'm like, that's just one way for you to get comic books. And video games are the same thing. People just assume that, oh yeah, you're playing one of those, just whatever game they happen to have heard of. And I'm like, it's funny. You're a gamer too. I am not. What's that on your phone? Is that Candy Crush? How many hours you got on that?
Yo, a lot of people still sleep on that too. The whole aspect of, oh, well, you play mobile games, so you're not really a gamer. And it's like, listen, my battery life would love to have a chat with you. It has entered the chat and it wants to talk because it is in shambles. The battery life, it keeps dying. And especially the way that we're seeing more stuff too. Like Crystal Dynamics, we just released Tomb Raider Reloaded. And we just pushed Tomb Raider Reloaded. And that's mobile. And people are just like, why a mobile game? And it's like, I mean, sometimes...
That's where the market is.
But not just that, sometimes you just want to be on your phone playing a game when you're on the bus because the alternative is trying to figure out your music you want to listen to, which is equally tiring because sometimes your mood fluctuates, or being forced to talk to strangers. And I, for one, do not endorse talking to strangers. Please leave me alone. So I am playing the game on my phone, and, it's just so many different ways to engage the game, too. And I especially love that with all the different types of gaming that we have access to now, you can interlink so much of it, too. Like, I can play Tomb Raider Reloaded on my phone, which is a direct callback to Tomb Raider itself, and so you can kind of build those bridges and connections and see where all the commonalities and the similarities are, but now it might even be kind of going to the same idea of a genre, a different flavor of that game. It doesn't have to be the exact same kind of adventure style game that I've done before. Maybe I want something lighthearted. Maybe I want a co-op experience. Me and my boyfriend, we sat on Tomb Raider Temple of Osiris, and we ran around and ran into the wall a couple of times, but we could co-op, and that's what we cared about. That was literally what we cared about. Now, granted, there may or may not have been a few times I blocked him in, but we don't talk about that. we don't talk about that.
Co-opetition is legit.
Oh, no.
That's fair.
Like, it's just I had that moment where I was just like, but what if I do this? But he gets back at me too, because then we'll play things like Divinity Original Sin, and he makes it a sport to set me on fire, and he knows that infuriates me, because I'm trying to do the fight, and he's just like, what's that barrel do? And I was like, don't you do it. Don't.
What does that barrel do?
Do not. And without hesitation, he sets it on fire. The whole thing blows up. I die.
No.
Like, maybe one enemy dies, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. No, I'm fine. I don't. Why do you think I'm angry? What made you think that? But I do want to ask another question, and we kind of already touched on it with that, which is, what was one of the times in a game that you felt seen? Zaire, I know you talked about like Forspoken. I love character creators till the day I die. I will like sing the praises of Code Vein forever because I got to make black anime version of me, and I care about nothing else. I care about nothing else. I got to walk around with, a lot of people refer to it as anime Dark Souls, and I have thoughts about that, but I still got to walk around as black anime me with an axe that was 3 times my side going, I'm gonna hit so much stuff. I'm gonna go hit it. And it was just a blast. Absolutely loved it. Adored it to pieces. So, when's a time in the game that you felt really seen? And it could be multiple things. It could be multiple games. Sky's the limit. I see the thinking caps.
I'm diving in.
I'm gonna say,
diving in.
Do it.
I'm in. All right. So there's probably games that happened before then, but the one that I take to the grave, Mass Effect series. Mm-hmm. Making my shepherd. Mm-hmm. Like I'd see the key marketing and be like, who's that on that screenshot? it's not Mass Effect, because Mass Effect, that dude looks like me, because I made me, or the best version I could in their character creator. And so not just the first game, but taking that through the whole 1, 2, and 3, that is like never, one, I could make a guy that loosely looked like myself. I could play it as I needed to play. Paragon, boring, Dudley Do Right, whatever. But every now and then. But I'm gonna say, but then the character relationships and the dynamics all time back to like, I don't know, 200 and 300 hours of staring at that shepherd, that of my own making, different than my friend's shepherds. Whether it's male shepherd or female shepherd, we all had our own shepherds. That was just an amazing experience. And I almost couldn't do the third game because I had switched from my Xbox over to being PC, and I was like, I can't move my save game until I found that this had been solved by people online with the right technology and tools.
It's the way Jay and I both panicked. It was like, oh, no. I can't start that over.
Yeah.
I got to carry that.
I did. And so I figured out how to migrate my Xbox save to PC. I felt like I had saved a life. It's like it lives. Best time ever being seen is being able to make my own shepherd and carry that guy through that whole franchise.
I want to keep the BioWare love going for a little bit longer. So 2 things. First one, same thing with Mass Effect. There's very few at the first game, especially very few dark-skinned like Black female characters that I could actually play as at that point. And so having the skin slider go all the way down, I was like, oh, okay, great. And for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, they made a special community trailer where they actually used a shepherd that was not from the box art or from the default, and that they actually asked for my shepherd, so I gave them my shepherd sliders, and they used her in the commercial.
I didn't know that.
That's my shepherd.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I had no
So that
idea.
was really
that.
they finally said, we're gonna show people what kind of shepherds you can make in this game. So they used my shepherd in the commercial for Legendary Edition. You can watch the community trailer. That's her.
I had no idea about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh my God.
And the second thing, this is what we call a loving drag, because before that game, BioWare put out Dragon Age 1 and 2 with no brown skin option at all in the character creator. And I've complained about this online. Many people complained about this online at the time. And when Inquisition came out, and they finally had a robust character creator that had, like, not only could you change the skin tone, you could change the nose shape, height, depth. I was like, okay, we're gonna be like out here with the Jackson 5 nostrils and everything. Let's go! Like, I was so, it felt like being seen because they had actually listened and they had changed the system they were previously using. So it wasn't just picking from presets, or it wasn't just like a color wheel that weirdly stopped just short of like dark tan. Like it was, yeah. So especially in 2, where you play as Hawk and then you have Hawk's family and they're supposed to look like you, but so yeah, I really love that Inquisition gave you the chance to really not only make your shepherd like you, but not shepherd, but make your Inquisitor like you, but your Hawk appears in the game and they're like, do you want to change Hawk's appearance? And I'm like, yes! So I could finally make my Hawk look the way that she was supposed to look in the first place. So that was really, really awesome. So I appreciate companies that like learn and change and grow and like add more things to their games to really make you feel like you're part of it, to make you feel more immersed in the experience and make you really feel that betrayal when that no good, we're not going to spoil it, but the deeper you get into a game, the more personal it feels when something happens.
Right.
So yeah, I really felt seen when they added that, and I was like, okay, thank you, this is great. So I'm looking forward to future stuff. And I'm saying right now, I don't work there. I don't know what happens. Nobody asked me for spoilers for Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I don't know.
Not you had to put the disclaimer of I don't work there.
Every time I talk about it, they're like, where'd you work?
I don't work there. Just with the most flat toe that I don't work there. Zaire.
I already mentioned Forspoken, but I feel like I have a couple things. The first really big one was The Last of Us Left Behind DLC, and seeing Riley and Ellie, and I was like, oh, I might be bi. But I had never like seen a black person who like that in media, and that was kind of like a big thing for me. And then my other one, which like I'm like a little not embarrassed about, but I swear to God, I was gonna grow up and be Shiva from Resident Evil 5. And
You're
I
not
was
alone.
like,
You're
I'm
not
gonna grow
alone.
up.
Oh my
I'm gonna work
god.
for some secret branch of the government. I'm gonna have this bow and arrow, and I just like my cousin would play with me, and he would like shoot me with the rocket launcher and stuff because he was older, and that's what older cousins do. But like I was obsessed. I was like, I'm gonna be her. I'm gonna learn martial arts, and then she had that like slightly racist like outfit, but like I was young, so I was like, oh, she's so cool and confident in that. And so I think that was my other one. And I have this thing where I get a lot of satisfaction. I got both my parents are darker than me. I got the random white jeans that live in every black person's line. Like I'm salty about it, whatever. I get around in the park. I really like, I get, but I really enjoy when I see people who look like the women in my family because I know I have a certain amount of, light skin privilege. Um, I will be more likely to have that kind of representation, but I really, really like when I see people who look like my mom or my little sister. Especially, because you don't have that growing up, you have it more recently. It's becoming important, and I hate to say marketable, but that's part of it too. People will call out your company on it. But I really enjoy when I see people who like look like my mom, my little sister, my grandmother. Like I think that's really cool. Because it's not something you see as easily. Like you're saying, like I can oftentimes find the skin tone for me, and even then sometimes I'm like, man, that's like my like pandemic winter color. That's really bad. But I really like when it's like yeah, like this, I can make someone who looks like my mom, or like you see a side character, and then like that gives me, Nana vibes. That reminds me, and I think that is something that's important to me because, I just don't feel like you see that as often, and I think it's really, really important. So those are whatever the question was. I think I answered correctly.
It's okay. I'm pleased that we are getting so segued that it's like, there was a question here and I just started talking. It's fine. This is fine. The one that I was going to add to the hat, first and foremost, I want to drop a lore fact about Sheva Alomar because she and I, in real time, are the same age. Just so you're aware. So when that game came out, it was extra lit because I was like, oh my god, that's actually me. I'm going to shoot so many zombies. Let's go. And people are just like, hey, Chris punching rocks. And I'm like, I don't care about Chris punching rocks. Sheva.
Right? I didn't care about him at all.
I was
like Sheva is the wave right now.
Yeah, that man is there. He's a main character, I guess. That's cool. But Sheva, though. But then the other one I wanted to offer was actually from our friends over in Indie side of town, which is from a game called Time Spinner. And it's done by Lunar Ray Games. And they have some of the most wonderful, not just black, but also queer representation in the same game. And that was the first time I had ever saw a character in a game that was both black and ace. And I was playing this live on stream when this happens, and the reveal comes out, and she's just like, oh yeah, well, I'm like in a relationship, and we're in a polycule, we're doing all this stuff, but I'm ace, so I don't do the thing. And I remember that my entire body just froze, and I could just feel the tears running down my face. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually in the game somewhere. It wasn't just the fact that I was in the game, it was also the fact that I was in the game and I was front facing. I was actually one of the main characters, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. I have no idea. Now my standards are jacked. My standards are jacked now because I've seen it. So I'm like, so why aren't you doing it? And that's like now my attitude for everything. I'm like, but where am I at? What are we doing? We did this before. Why am I not back in there? But I did want to just kind of be mindful of time and put out one more question, kind of digging into some of our personal achievements and whatnot. I wanted to ask everybody, what is one of your favorite things that you've seen or achieved while working in the industry? And I am purposely going to go last because I know how I am, and there is a very non-zero chance that I will burst into tears. So I don't want people to be answering, and it's just the host sitting there like, ah, that type of thing. So.
Okay, real quick.
Okay.
Because of time. I'm really excited that I got to work with Codename Entertainment on Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms to create accurate disabled representation for their disabled characters and to really speak to everyone from the very top of the company to the artists who are working on the characters to the people who are writing the stories for their queer and disabled characters to make sure that everything is being done respectfully, correctly, and to have like input on how the art is designed so that it depicts like mobility aids in a fantasy realm, but they actually have to be functional and to make sure that they work and so that people can be seen in them. So that if you are disabled, you can cosplay this character correctly with your own device and not be like, well, I can't do that. That's some kind of magic whoop-de-doo. What is that? So that was really fun. But I can't say a lot because again, NDA. But when you had mentioned getting to really see yourself in a game, I got to work on a character that has a lot in common with me, but the game is not out yet. But the game will be out later this year, so I'm really really excited for y'all to get to meet her.
Yeah, the
I'm
NDA
so
has
excited.
attacked once again. Once again.
So excited, yeah. So it's gonna be really cool to not only get to like be, oh yeah, that's me, I'm in this game, but also I got to make sure her writing was good. Okay.
You call that a double win right there, and it's like I got all the W's. I'm there, and it makes sense.
Oh, bless. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, it was like one of y'all two got to go. I told you I'm going last. I ain't going. You can't make me.
Go.
Okay.
I think probably when I got hired at Naughty Dog as a writer, that was like I had a friend who I used to play Last of Us Factions with, which is like their multiplayer game. That was like in The Last of Us that no one else, not a lot of people knew about. But he said, "Oh man, I remember in like 2014 or 15, you like, you know, you told me that, and you just like I kept watching you just like make the steps to do it, and I thought that was so cool because you were, how was I? I was like 20 or something. I was like, and it was more the recognition that like I did what was needed to make this happen because it's hard, like game writing there's a lot of competition. You have to be good at what you do. I wish there was enough game jobs for all of us, to go around. There's so many talented people. But I felt really, I felt accomplished. I felt really, really seen how hard I had been working, and that was a big deal for me. And the project I'm working on now, which again I can't talk about at Compulsion, I think I'm gonna do probably some of the best writing I've ever done on this game. And I'm nervous about it, but I think it's gonna be good. And I think it's something that a lot of people feel seen with. And that's all I can say about that before Microsoft sends the hit squad.
Oh no, not that.
So, but yeah, I think it's just working really hard and breaking into games just in general was a big thing. But for me to do that and end up at Naughty Dog for a year was just really cool. And I hope that I inspire other people to do that because we need different types of people in rooms.
Absolutely, 100%. Morgan, you've had time now to think from all the different options you got.
There's so many different options. I guess so many different. The one I'll put out. And so back in like 2000, I was working on Star Trek Bridge Commander, and this is going back in the way backs. But I was like, hey, like I really I love Trek. Want to see some representation. Love the promise of how sci-fi was like subversive in the day, right? Whether it was Star Trek or Twilight Zone, like a lot of social issues got masked by fiction, and by being masked by fiction, they were able to get dealt with, and people could look into it, right? Like the whole Spock thing is it's a metaphor, right? So like, and this is sometimes how you get over it. Sometimes you need to be overt, but sometimes you get over. So on Bridge Commander, I was really happy, like, because I really wanted to work out a different type of crew than we'd see in other Trek. So I was able to get the first someone of Latino descent on a bridge crew, someone of Samoan, and in a geek way, I was able to get a Bajoran before everyone was doing Bajorans and the like. So that was a fun one of saying like, how do I take my love for Trek and then add into a way of making the primary cast be slightly different than what we've traditionally seen. So super geeky and specific, but in general, I think one of the joys, and one of the things, and not just to plug Crystal because I work for Crystal, but one of the things I like about Crystal's creative approach is like, characteristics aren't character, though they're an aspect of character. Trying to define rounded characters, whether they're good or bad, that have internal truth that is broadly representation, whether it's like, digging into like, Lara and her friends, whether it's things like putting an emphasis on Kamala Khan as a viewpoint character and rounding those things out. Like, it isn't just representation for representation's sake, but knowing that alternate points of view and entrance points create more original storytelling possibilities. And that is exciting to be able to do, and not just for for people that happen to look like me, though we joke about like get those Jackson nose. I'm like, getting the black beard is like, that's the character customization I need the curlies, I need my ingrowns to come through. Just gotta say, we're missing that.
Listen,
haven't got noses, we have lips and noses.
Like,
if we can get the beard,
like, we're so close, we can get there. Like, even just seeing more people come out with like better hairstyles and textures for your customizations, I'm just like, listen, we are making progress. I am not upset about it.
When my colleagues / friends brought baby hairs into people's wheelhouse to understand how that worked in character creation, when we're working on the Wakanda, and it was like, this is the level of authenticity we need, everybody.
I need the baby hairs, please and thank you.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Wild Hearts. Like, just to shout that out real quick, I literally got it because I saw someone else's character creator, and I was like, that's a lot of options. And then I just based off that, like, I'll give a game a chance if they have a good character creator, like 7 out of 10 times.
Yes.
Like,
well, I have a friend in my Discord right now who's doing that, and it's just like, so I need to get you on Guild Wars 2, and he's been trying this for months on end, mind you. And literally, he finally found the breaking point. He was like, I know how I'm going to get you to play Guild Wars 2. And he starts just dropping off different black character after black character after black character. He's like, by the way, I'm just going to start making characters and dropping them off to you. Do you want them to be in your channel colors? Don't answer that. I'm just going to put them in your channel colors. And they're all coming in, and it's cornrows. It's big braids that are done on the side twist. It's baby hairs. It's the different noses. It's one of them actually has the blotches from albinism and all sorts of stuff. And I was just like, you didn't lead with this? You would have said that 6 months ago and I would have been paid. Like, hello? What do you mean? You could have said that out the box. But probably I wanted to just like piggyback that a little bit too, because the character creators make a huge difference. But probably the big win for me is, and I know it's Cornball City, I'm very aware, but it's being here at Crystal. Because this is my first gaming gig. Like, I've done so much. Most of you, well, 2 of you on here know me from my Twitter presence specifically. I've done so much in talking about representation, accessibility, talking about game design, game dev, talking about the different aspects of pipelines and development, where I'm like, I'm not in game dev, but I have some pretty good educated guesses on how this is going to work out. Because I know y'all think that people just don't want to do stuff for you, but I can assure you they want to do stuff for you, but limitations are a real thing that exists, and we got to deal with that. I bring up Bloodborne out of love, but also I am begging y'all, please stop asking for Bloodborne 2. The code's probably gone. It's probably dead. It's probably missing. Or they could just be done with it. I don't know. But Bloodborne 1 functions, and it's fine. This is fine. But, like, having someone at Crystal look at things like just my Twitter presence and take the gamble and be like, have you ever considered working in community? And I was like, I run a community. Does that count? And they're like, yeah, we're going to go forward with that. You should try that out. And kind of to what you said earlier, Jay, it is not lost on me that getting into the gaming industry, that's not like some lightweight feat. That's not something that you just wake up and you go, yep, I'm a gamer now. I'm going to go work for company XYZ ABC. So the fact that I got through the whole process, the fact that all this is happening, I was at PAX East for my first interview, and I was like, what is going on? Am I in the Twilight Zone? I'm at PAX East. It was my first PAX East, my first game dev interview, and I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. This is fake news. I'm going to wake up and be like back in Indiana, sleeping in my crappy bed, and just upset. And like, as it all happened, it all finished up, and it all rolled out. The day that the contract came into my inbox, I literally, and see, I knew I was going to do it. The day that the contract came into my inbox, I literally ran into my boyfriend's arms and just burst into tears. Because I was like, it's real. I'm working in the gaming industry now. I made it after all this time of thinking that I was just going to be like someone on the outskirts, someone who just was really loud and annoying, kind of call him back Zaire from earlier, loud and annoying on Twitter. Just that person that's like, oh my God, she's yelling at Twitch again. It's her. okay, yeah, just let her do her threads, just read it, say you like it, whatever. But like when it came in, it just became realized. It was just that moment, and I was like, oh my god, this is happening. And I have had the privilege of not just being here, but I've been putting together this entire Black History Month celebration. And this is everything I could have asked for because this is the stuff I talked about. Now I get to enact direct change. And I still wake up some mornings and I'm just like, this is fake. There's no way that I'm running a full Black History Month celebration. There's no way I'm waking up and I'm in a game dev Slack. That's not real. I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be so crappy, and I'm gonna be so pissed when the dream ends. But
I just want to say it wasn't a gamble. You're a safe bet.
oh
You deserve everything that you have. You've worked hard and you've earned it. And if you don't already have a loud and annoying on Twitter t-shirt, how do we get it to you?
I'm pretty sure you could just say that on Twitter and a bot will have that covered.
Okay.
They will be here quickly. Oh, you need a shirt? Please leave. Please get out of my face. But that being said, that is time for us. I know a lot of us have obligations. We are all busy people with lots to do and lots to actually take care of after this. So, do we want to do some quick outros and then we are going to go ahead and see if we can find us a Black content creator go raid with some love. So, I'm going to go in reverse. Morgan, well, hang on, it's this way. No, it's this way. There we go.
It's mirrored.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, it's I really enjoyed being able to share with everyone, and I loved the conversation, the back and forth. So I just like, to the other people on panel, I just want to say, like, thank you so much. I really I enjoyed it, and it's easy sometimes in your day to day to get slightly more jaded because no matter how cool a job is, it's still a job. Paying bills is paying bills, but
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this really helps remind me of the of how special it is to be able to be involved in this, and how cool the people who are involved in this are as well. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is what a great Black History Month reminder of how awesome it is to be both Black and making history with other Black people making history every day. So thank you. It's been a treat. I
Oh,
had no idea this would come in February for me, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you guys so much.
it's been wonderful having you. Thank you so much for joining us, Morgan. But now we have to go to Zaire. Do you have
Yep.
anything you need to outro with?
Um, yeah, it was good talking with everyone. I like hearing everyone's stories. Vanessa, I love you being loud and annoying on Twitter. It's the best. It's hilarious. But yeah, I really enjoy taking this time for like just a small portion of the people in the industry to be seen. 'Cause there's so many of us across so many different disciplines doing so much cool stuff. Um, you've got options. You've got so many different paths. Like you take 10 people in game dev, you're gonna get 10 wildly different stories. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really cool, all the backgrounds and everything. And we all deserve to be seen. We all deserve a chance to contribute to stories and make our own stories. And we're doing it. And I think it's only going to get better in the future. The new generation coming up. I think we're all in for a treat, and I'm really excited for the future of gaming, and especially Black stories and Black presence in games.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for the future of games. You have no idea. You have no idea. Despite my now annoying presence on Twitter, that's been going for a while, but I don't know. Maybe I'll go back after all because people are like, "We miss you on Twitter." I'm like, "Duh, I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was just annoying." But Jay, any final words?
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a blast. I loved hearing everybody else's stories. And if you are interested in any more of my ridiculousness, you can find me at that J Justice on all the things. And I just want to say that there is no wrong way to get into gaming, and that gaming is more approachable, accessible, enterable than it's ever been. You can learn how to use Unity or Unreal Engine if you want to get into the coding aspect of it. There's self-instructions as well. And I like to use Unreal Engine on my streams to show people how, like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy, but like you can do it. There's so many simple ways to get into games. So what does a game dev look like? It looks like every single one of us. It can be anybody. You can get into game dev. It's not something that's unattainable. You can try.
All right, and again, everybody, I have been your host and moderator for this panel, Vanessa Brasfield, over as a community coordinator at Crystal Dynamics. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for participating and joining. I really appreciate you spending some of your time to talk with us about your passions, your joys, and the things you love about being in the gaming industry. Because more to Morgan's point specifically, I think it's very easy to kind of fall into the trap of everything being negative, not enough, not going to be doing too much, or there's no point in trying. And we have a lot of stuff, especially as Black devs, to celebrate here. We have a lot of stuff that we enjoy. We have a lot of love, a lot of passion, and a lot of things that we should really, really kind of like bring out more of, because we are much more than just kind of talking about the bad stuff. And I feel like a lot of stuff has a tendency to put us on for the bad stuff. So I'm glad that we got to share this space with everybody. Thank you so much for everyone in the chat who hung out with us today. Like I said, I'm going to try and find us somebody to go hang out with. Otherwise, we will see you the next time we go live. Take care, everybody.